guess what? It is time for Twilight Zone Season 4 Rants and Raves. Comments and thoughts. So, first thing, the 30-Fathom grave. It's the second episode of Season 4. First of all, actually, Season 4, whenever I get to it in my annual watching of the Twilight Zone, I think, wow, I hate this season. And it's really not that bad. But basically all of the episodes feel as long as they are, because it's the only season that has hour-long episodes, and it feels like it. So the first time I ever watched, well, I had seen a couple episodes from it on the Sci-fi marathons and whatnot, but the first time I watched it properly, I guess, and the first time I had seen a lot of these episodes was on the Blu-rays, and so my first time ever seeing the 30-Fathom grave, it was Rod Serling spoiling it. It was like after the first episode in his image, which is a really good episode. Like the first time I ever watched it, I was like, whoa, this is like How to Do a Frankenstein Story. Oh my God. And it's good, but this past time I watched it, I was like, it was okay. It is good. It's a good episode, but I don't know. It didn't have my full attention this time. It's good though. Anyway, at the end of that episode on the Blu-ray, Rod Serling's like, join us next week for this episode where this happens. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but like they show clips from it, and it shows like, oh, this creepy thing is happening, and oh, this is why it's creepy, because this ship or the submarine has been down there for 40 years. Oh my God, so there shouldn't be anyone on it. Like, it's like, oh, you're really gonna tell me that? Like, so like this long episode goes on and on and on for like, I don't even remember how long before they do the reveal of how long it's been. And it's like, yeah, I know, Rod Serling already told me that. So that was really disappointing the first time I watched it. So I didn't really enjoy it the first time, but since then, even though it feels really long, the like knocking that they hear from the submarine totally ASMRs me, and that like makes the whole episode worth watching, in my opinion. It's just like relaxing to hear the knocking and tapping and whatever, even though it's supposed to be scary and it is creepy, but the ASMR I get from it is like my favorite thing about the episode. And the main guy in it, who is in Sleepaway Camp, by the way, he does a really good job of portraying trauma and grief, and that's actually really impressive, and I like that about the episode. But it just feels really long, especially when you know what happens before you watch it. So yeah, I mean, obviously if you're watching this, I assume you've seen it or don't care about spoilers. So anyway, he's alive. The episode with what's his name? It doesn't say on here, but Dennis Hopper. That episode is really upsetting. It's one of the least, it's really good, but it's like not enjoyable to me anyway, because it's like very realistic in a very depressing and scary way. Like Death's Head Revisited, that episode's really good, and I really like that one. Like, I watch it and I like watching it, but it's like deeply disturbing when you have like actual villains who have opinions and do things that people actually did that are evil. So it's a good one. But I don't like it. It's like, this is like how soon after Hitler and all that, like not even 10 years, and this guy is like speaking in front of people, and he has like this huge portrait of Hitler behind him, like, yeah, we're on the same page. And it's like, wow, that's so gross. It's just like, yeah, it's an effective disturbing episode, but like not in a fun way. So I don't like it. That's a skip for me. But the next one, Mute. Okay, this episode, first time I saw it was on the Sci-Fi channel, and I was kind of like, wow, this episode is so long. That really goes for a lot of episodes, like I said. But this episode, like this last time I watched it, I was like, I'm just gonna like play a game on my phone while this episode's on or something. But it's actually really good. Like I liked it before, but it's totally worth 100% of my attention, and which I gave it this last time. And it's so good. Like the way the girl thinks, like she doesn't speak, that's why it's called Mute, and because she's like totally psychic, telepathic, whatever, and so the way she understands things and communicates things is through the genuine feeling and experience of it and whatnot. Like things are as they are instead of just words, and like the way it portrays how there's a difference between reality and words, and like really caging in communication and expression and experience in general with words, like how constricting that is. Like the scene where she's in school and this kid is reading out loud from this book about a boat or whatever, and she's like, why is he saying words like these are words, it's not the boat. Like he's saying words about the boat, but that's not what the boat is. And like I just really love how that's established in this episode, and how it shows that that is her life experience, not totally cut off by the limits of language. And it's just so utterly tragic when she like makes that shift into only being able to use words and not her mind as clearly as before. It's just like, oh my god. And like it's like a bittersweet thing, because she's able to experience love with her stepmom, I guess. So it like works out for the mom and kind of for her. And it's kind of like, I really like the episode because it's kind of like, it shows how it is to be born into this world, like you were, you know, a universal being before coming into this realm or whatever. And so like by her forming this new connection with her mom, it was only possible after she let go of her like ultra special on all-knowingness almost. So it's like this girl was born into this world late, and you kind of see what she would experience. What she experiences is like kind of like a drawn out, aware version of like what a newborn experiences, something like that. So I think it's a really great episode. And the teacher, her teacher, bless her heart. Like you can tell she thinks she's doing the right thing, but she's such a villain at the same time, and that's pretty relevant too with people's life experiences. So, you know, especially with her being a teacher and everything. And what is with that one scene where she corrects the kid who says ocean, and she's like, ocean, and the kid's like, ocean. Who says it like that? That's not even correct. I think that was what established her as a villain. It just kicked me out of my episode list. But yeah, that's a really good episode. There is Death Ship. I enjoy that one because first of all, Jack Klugman. Second of all, Ross Martin. Love him so much. It's a good episode. It's just long. It's just all these episodes are longer than they need to be. Except for the next one, which is Jess-Belle. That is one of my favorite episodes. Of course, because it's witchy. And I love witchy stuff. And yeah, I love the guy. I love the girl who plays Jess-Belle. I believe she's the same woman who plays Marcia in the Mannequin episode. Like, pretty certain. And I love that episode too. Jess-Belle is awesome. And I love the guy who plays Billy Van. So, they're great. The witch element is great. And I just enjoy the whole episode. It does run a little bit long, but it's fine. If any episode's gonna be long, I'd want it to be that one, so it's fine. Miniature. The main guy in this episode drives me nuts. Okay, I guess part of it is because he really reminds me of somebody that I was friends with a long time ago. And I'm just like, oh my god. I don't even dislike this person I'm talking about, but it's like, oh, you would do that. Like, it's so, I don't know. But it's like, it's not that his character's annoying or anything, but he does that thing, and I've mentioned this before, about like the weird accent. This is my problem. I'm not even trying to say anything like anyone's doing anything wrong. Like, it's just my own deal that I think it is so freaking weird. That accent where it's like normal old-timey accent, so to speak, but then like to pronounce things like lost, like lost. What? Like, why? I don't it just like bothers me way more than it should. But anyway, this main guy talks like that, and that just drives me nuts. But this guy, the main character in this one, he is like, okay, so nearly every episode of the Twilight Zone I've noticed is like, see, this is what it's like to be neurodivergent. Like the struggles of neurodivergent people. That's what the show could be called, pretty much. And it's like each episode, almost every episode is like, here's a scenario where hopefully you can understand what it's like to be neurodivergent. And this episode is so intensely that. Like, this is like top 3 autism episodes for sure. This main guy is just like not on the same page as these other characters that are like very neurotypical, and they're all just like, wow, you're so freaking weird. And he's just like, I'm just trying to live my life. And he's like, you know what? And if that means falling in love with a little wooden doll in a museum, so be it, because everyone else is crazy. And it's sad because like nobody in the episode is wrong. Like his sister and everything, like she loves him, she just doesn't get him. And the same thing with his annoying ass mom. She is so obnoxious, but she does care about him. She just like does not understand him at all. And he is just like, can you just leave me alone? Like, I don't want to hook up with this hua that you're like setting me up with. That doesn't make me a freak. Like, and I don't know. It's just, he's so misunderstood. And it's like, just let him be himself so he doesn't have to like fall in love with this little wooden girl. This wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have like disappeared into a dollhouse if you guys would just chill out and let him be neurodivergent. So, if it wasn't for the way the guy talked, I don't know. I'm just too hung up on that. Don't even listen to me. But, No Time Like the Past. This is another episode, another example of someone who time travels. Oh my god, it just went. Someone who time travels who should not be time traveling. Or there should be like some kind of class about how to effectively travel back in time and communicate with people. Not just in general, but like if you're gonna talk about time traveling, there's a certain way to do it. Like, please don't be hysterical. Wait, is this even the episode? I think it is. It is. I always think that this episode is 2 different episodes, but it's not. I think. Well, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but I will talk about the episode like I know what I'm talking about. So this guy goes back in time, unless it's a different episode, but I'm pretty sure this is the same episode. He goes back in time, he tries to prevent, you know, Hitler doing all his stuff. He tries to prevent, you know, various accidents and tragedies. And he goes back in time and he goes to like a really important person in this scenario to like try to prevent the thing. And he's like, you gotta listen to me. I am a random ass guy who is suddenly telling you what to do. So why wouldn't you listen to me? That makes no sense. Are you serious right now? No one's gonna listen to that. No one's gonna say, oh, hey, you know, you're some random guy. I'm in charge of this major thing, and sure, I'll do what you tell me to do. Oh, you're from the past? That makes it even more legitimate. It's so stupid. Like, have any tact. But this guy doesn't. He's like, wow, I wonder why that didn't work. I guess the human race is just scum. No, maybe you're just really bad at time traveling. So he's like, you know what? I give up. I'm going to go to the past and live in Indiana. I think it's Indiana. And he meets this woman and he falls in love with her. And he is like living his best life in the past. And whoops, he messes up. Wow, I never saw that one coming. But I do enjoy the episode. It's pretty good for what that's worth. But it's like, why is everyone so bad at communicating things, especially when they're going back in time on purpose? Like, do they even give it any thought with like how they're gonna handle it? Because it doesn't seem like it. The parallel this movie or this episode is so good. It's actually really comforting to me. It's like a really terrifying concept, and yet it's very comforting to me. I think like space stuff is really comforting for some reason, even though it's a terrifying subject. And, you know, this takes place in 50s, 60s era. And whenever it shows like a person in their home and it's a very mid-century home, that's super comforting to me. So this episode is like all that. It's like, you know, old school sci-fi space stuff and mid-century home. So it's like really a good time. And it is creepy, you know, because like things happen that like it doesn't make any sense. And then I like, well, obviously that's like every episode, but in this one, people like involved trying to figure out what's going on, they see things that have happened, like evidence of this crazy, unbelievable stuff, and they're like, I mean, it's impossible, but it's right here. It's real life at the same time. So, and I just like episodes that deal with that well, instead of being totally stupid about it. Like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't know, like being totally in denial about stuff in a way that's like dumb. Like, I like when it shows people figuring out like, okay, this shouldn't be happening, but it's happening. And this is just a good example of that, in my opinion. I Dream of Jeannie. I hate this episode. I hate this episode so much. And you know why? Number one reason I hate this episode. Here's another thing I don't get about any show or movie or honestly real life. When someone, well, what I mean in like a show or movie or something, what I don't understand is why it's portrayed this way on purpose. When someone has a pet and the pet is only annoying. Why? Like, I get if you have a pet that you love and they do stuff that annoys you, it's like, oh my God, well, it just comes with it, whatever. Everything has some element of annoyingness. But like in a show, in an episode of something, and someone has a pet and it's just a pain in the ass, it's like, why are you even there? Okay, I guess the point in this episode of this guy having a dog is that in each dream scenario, when he sees like, if I wished for this, what would this be like? His dog is a different breed. But every time the thing just barks and gets in the way, and it's like, could we have had this episode without the dog? That would be great. But no, the dog's in there. And it's like a silly episode, and it's watchable. I'll give it that. It's watchable, but barely because of the dogs. Anyway, sorry to be such a hater, but that's what I have to say about that one. Of late, I think of Cliffordville, the main guy in that, it does like too good of a job of playing a scumbag, but it's okay. This is an episode I used to hate that was like, I'm just very tempted to skip, but this last time I watched it, it was like, okay, it's not that bad. The Incredible World of Horace Ford, another top 3 wow, is this main character autistic episode. And it's like, this guy is just like living a neurodivergent life. Can we like be accepting of that? And to be fair, his boss is like actually one of the most reasonable characters in the movie. Because at one point he has this meltdown and his boss is like, hey, you know what? Let's work this out. And it's like, okay, 60s dealing with autism. Pretty good. But overall, this guy is just like so autistic. And it's like, guys, please watch the Twilight Zone and like understand what it's like to be neurodivergent, because wow, there's so much of that. And it's like, on one hand, kind of a breath of fresh air, but on the other, it's like, yeah, I get it. And like, yeah, I've seen it, and it's a struggle. Like, I'm not saying I'm like this character 100%, of course, but it's like, I know so many people like that, and I, you know, being neurodivergent is a very different experience from not. And so with episodes like this that portray it so well, it's like, I feel so seen. And this guy, like, he spends like the entire episode reminiscing about being a kid. It's like, oh my God, you remember that? That was so great. Oh my God, that was so fun. That was amazing. Oh, I love being a kid. Everything was great when I lived on Randolph Street and all this stuff happened and my friends, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then like at the end, he kind of relives being a kid for a minute. And he's like, oh, actually, I hated my childhood and I was miserable. I forgot about that part. I forgot that it was actually a nightmare. And like, I watched this episode for the first time when I was a kid. And so seeing that as a kid before it happened to me, it kind of like prevented it from happening. Because that, like, I don't know, like the first time I watched the episode, that really stayed with me. Like, that struck me as a kid. Like, I was like maybe 9 or something, and I was like, man, I am very aware of sugarcoating the past. So while I'm in the past now, let me just be real about it so I don't like turn into this guy. And like, I really, really took note, and I think that really was beneficial to me in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, a lot of things do look better when you look back, or, you know, they're inevitably less painful and whatever, and you can see the good things more clearly. But I was always very, I had 2 Mountain Dews before this, so I'm like, Diet Mountain Dews. The real stuff tastes like garbage to me. Yeah, it really benefited me to be aware of that, to like be mindful of it my entire adult life. That's pretty crazy now that I think about it, but like, this show is amazing, and that's one example of why, because it's like helped guide me through my life. That's like kind of intense, but true. On Thursday, we leave for home. That is such a Rod Serling episode. The guy who's like all in charge of everybody on this planet with 2 sons, and then like they get rescued and he's like, oh no, I'm not in charge anymore. And he throws a fit, and he's just like, it's not a bad episode. It's just like, it's very Rod Serling. I love Rod Serling. I don't mean to like make that sound like a complaint or like a criticism or anything. It's just like, oh, Rod, you're so heavy-handed. Passage on the Lady Anne. Like, this couple needs to get divorced. Like, why are they together? I'm not even gonna get into that. It's not even that bad. The episode's fine. It takes place mostly on a ship, the Lady Anne, and another really comforting setting in movies and shows and stuff to me is on a ship, and that seems like it would be really claustrophobic and or boring, but I really like it. Like, if something takes place on a ship, whether it be in space or on the water, it's like, or a train, like, I don't know, I really love that for some reason. So that episode I don't love, but the fact that it's on a ship, I do like that part. So I enjoy the episode for that, even though this couple is like, really? Why even bother? The last episode of season 4, The Bard. I hate's a strong word. I don't like this episode. You know, I barely even remember it, because the last time I watched it, I did laundry and took a nap. And I don't know if I mean, I could try watching it again someday, but boy, I've seen it. I think I've seen it fully once, but it's like, I can't stand it. Like, I don't like this episode. Summoning William Shakespeare. I'm sorry, like, I feel like that could be done well, but this episode I freaking hate. Like, I kind of want to watch it again to see why I feel so strongly about it, but then on the other hand, it's like, I should probably just trust myself, because it's not. Because like, I watched Vampire Over London again because I thought, there's no way this movie is as bad as I remembered. It's worse. It's so bad. Same with Count Dracula, the Jess Franco movie with Christopher Lee as Dracula. Don't get me started. That movie's so... Girl, okay. If you were to tell me that Jess Franco and Christopher Lee worked together on a Dracula movie, I would tell you, wow, that's my new favorite movie. How could that not be the best movie ever? It's horrible. It's one of the worst movies. It is one of the hardest movies I've ever tried to get through, but that is not what this video is about. So Jess-Belle and the Mute. I'd say the Mute is my favorite episode from season 4. I used to think like, oh, all of season 4 is bad. Like, ugh, I just don't like the season. I don't like that it's so freaking long. Like, I don't like that each episode is so long. But I'd say really the only skip is The Bard. that's it. Like, yeah, the rest of them are either watchable or actually really good. I forgot how good it actually was, so that's all I have to say. Have a great day.